Tiny changes, big results. The Micro-Stacking and Journaling Weight Loss Method, Chapter 1. Introduction. Why small steps lead to big results. The challenges of dieting. Ever tried a diet that promised the world but left you starving, stressed, and frustrated? Yeah, me too. You go all in, cut carbs, or sugar, or joy, and you're pumped for about a week. Then life happens. Maybe it's a birthday party with cake staring you down, or a rough day that practically begs for a pizza delivery. Suddenly, the perfect plan isn't so perfect anymore. Traditional diets are like crash courses. They expect you to overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight. The problem? That's not how real life works. Most of us don't have the time, energy, or willpower to stick to a complete 180-degree lifestyle change long-term. And when we inevitably slip up, we blame ourselves. I failed. But it's not you. It's the system. These one-size-fits-all approaches forget that lasting change isn't about going big. It's about starting small. Here's the truth. Radical, unsustainable efforts almost always lead to burnout. Think of it like sprinting a marathon. You might start strong, but eventually you'll hit a wall. And that's why diets fail. They ask too much, too soon, and don't give you the tools to keep going when things get tough. The power of micro-stacking and journaling. So, what's the alternative? 2 words, micro-stacking and journaling. Sounds simple, right? That's because it is. And that's the beauty of it. Let's start with micro-stacking. This is all about breaking down big, intimidating goals into bite-sized actions you can actually stick to. Instead of saying, I'm going to work out for an hour every day, start with, I'll do 1 push-up today. 1 doesn't sound like much, but here's the thing, it's doable. And that tiny win builds momentum. Tomorrow, you might do 2. Over time, those small actions stack up, hence the name, into habits that stick. And then there's journaling, the secret weapon for keeping you on track. Writing things down forces you to reflect. It's like having a conversation with yourself, one where you're brutally honest but also kind. Journaling helps you notice patterns, celebrate wins, even tiny ones, and course correct without guilt. It's not about being perfect. It's about paying attention. Together, micro-stacking and journaling create a powerhouse combo. One keeps you moving forward, step by step, while the other keeps you grounded and aware of what's working and what's not. Over time, this approach doesn't just help you lose weight, it helps you transform your mindset. Choosing your weight loss path, here's where it gets exciting. Your weight loss journey is yours. Forget cookie-cutter plans or what worked for your neighbor's cousin's best friend. This is about figuring out what works for you, your lifestyle, your preferences, your goals. Think of micro-stacking and journaling as tools, not rules. You get to decide how to use them. Maybe your first step is swapping 1 soda for water, or journaling for 5 minutes about why you want to lose weight. Maybe it's committing to a 10-minute walk after dinner. Whatever it is, start small and stay consistent. You'll be amazed at how those tiny changes lead to big results over time. Here's a fun analogy. Imagine your weight loss journey is like building a Lego set. If you try to slap all the pieces together in one go, you'll end up frustrated and probably with a pile of broken Legos. But if you focus on 1 piece at a time, you'll eventually create something amazing. Micro-stacking is adding 1 Lego piece at a time. Journaling is the instruction manual that helps you figure out where everything fits. So, let's toss out the guilt, the all-or-nothing mindset, and the unrealistic expectations. Instead, let's focus on what really works. Small, manageable steps that fit into your life. No more diets that feel like punishment. No more burnout. Just a sustainable, personalized path to the healthier, happier version of you. Ready to take that first tiny step? Let's do this, 1 micro-action at a time. Part 1. The foundations of lasting change. Let's be real. Losing weight isn't just about finding the perfect diet or workout routine. If it were, we'd all be walking success stories, right? The truth is, lasting change comes from understanding the basics, your habits, your mindset, and how to build something sustainable that fits into your real life. That's what this part is all about. Think of part 1 as the sturdy foundation of a house. You wouldn't throw up the walls and roof without first making sure the ground beneath is solid. Without a strong foundation, every diet, fitness challenge, or weight loss goal is at risk of crumbling the second life throws a curveball. And let's face it, Life loves throwing curveballs. So, what are we focusing on here? The stuff that actually makes a difference long term. How habits work. Ever feel stuck in a cycle of good for a week, then back to square one? That's not because you lack willpower. It's because your brain is running on autopilot. We'll dive into the science of habits and how to hack your own behavior to create patterns that stick. Micro-stacking. Big changes sound impressive, but they're also why most diets fail. Instead, we're starting small, tiny, even. Micro-stacking is about building habits so small they feel ridiculously easy. But here's the kicker. Those tiny changes snowball into massive results. Journaling for clarity and accountability. Let's talk about one of the most underrated tools in your weight loss arsenal. Journaling. It's like having a personal coach, therapist, and cheerleader rolled into one. And it's way cheaper. By writing things down, you'll uncover patterns, celebrate wins, and stay focused without the guilt or guesswork. Part 1 isn't about making you perfect overnight. It's about giving you a toolkit to understand yourself and your habits, so you can build a plan that feels like second nature, not some chore you'll abandon in a month. If you've ever felt like weight loss is this huge, overwhelming thing, spoiler, it doesn't have to be, then buckle up. We're about to break it down into simple, actionable steps. And remember, it's not about how fast you get there. It's about building something that lasts. Sound good? Let's start laying that foundation, one tiny change at a time. Chapter 2. The neuroscience of habits, how habits form. Let's talk about habits. Those little things we do on autopilot every day without even thinking. Grabbing your phone first thing in the morning. That's a habit. Snacking while watching TV. Also a habit. The good news is, once a habit is formed, it takes way less effort to keep doing it. The not so good news? Breaking an old habit, or starting a new one, can feel like wrestling a bear. Here's why. Your brain loves efficiency. Every time you repeat an action, your brain builds a habit loop made up of 3 parts. Cue. This is what triggers the habit. For example, feeling bored might cue you to snack. Routine. This is the habit itself. Grabbing a bag of chips, scrolling social media, whatever. Reward. This is what makes your brain want to repeat it. Maybe the snack satisfies your boredom or gives you a quick dopamine hit. The more you repeat this loop, the stronger the neural pathway becomes. Think of it like a trail in the woods. The more people walk the trail, the more defined it gets. Eventually, your brain defaults to that path because it's familiar and easy. But here's the cool part. Your brain is changeable. Thanks to something called neuroplasticity, you can literally rewire it by creating new pathways. It's like building a new trail in the woods, one step at a time. Small changes, big impact. Okay, so how do we build these new pathways without overwhelming ourselves? Enter micro-stacking. This is where small changes become your secret weapon. Here's the thing. Your brain hates big, dramatic changes. When you try to overhaul everything at once, say, cutting out all sugar, going vegan, and working out 2 hours a day, it feels like a threat. Your brain freaks out, and pretty soon, you're back to old habits. But small changes? Your brain barely notices. And that's the magic. Let's say you want to drink more water. Instead of forcing yourself to chug a gallon a day, start with 1 glass before lunch. Once that feels natural, add another glass. Over time, these small wins stack up into big results. Think of it like pushing a snowball down a hill. At first, it's tiny and takes some effort to get moving. But as it rolls, it picks up snow and grows momentum. That's how micro-stacking works. It builds on itself, making the process feel effortless over time. And guess what? Every time you complete a small action, your brain gets a dopamine hit. It's like your brain's way of saying, hey, good job. That positive reinforcement makes you want to keep going. Case studies. Real-world transformations. Let's look at some real-life examples of how small habits can lead to big changes. Case study number 1, the 1 push-up trick. Meet Sarah. She wanted to get fit but hated working out. So, she set the smallest goal she could think of, 1 push-up a day. Yep, just 1. At first, it felt almost silly. But once she was on the floor, she'd think, well, I'm already here. I might as well do a few more. Within a month, Sarah was doing 20 push-ups a day and feeling stronger than ever. What started as 1 push-up turned into a consistent workout habit. Case study number 2, the coffee swap. Then there's Mike. His afternoons were powered by sugary lattes, which added up to 500 extra calories a day. Instead of quitting cold turkey, he decided to micro-stack. First, he swapped whipped cream for foam. Then he switched to a lower-calorie milk. Eventually, he transitioned to black coffee with a splash of almond milk. Over a few months, he dropped 10 pounds without feeling deprived. Case study number 3, journaling for awareness. And finally, there's Emma. She struggled with emotional eating but never realized how often it happened. So, she started journaling, not every meal, just one sentence whenever she felt the urge to snack. After a week, she noticed a pattern. Stress at work was her biggest trigger. Armed with that insight, she began taking 5-minute stress walks instead of grabbing chips. The result? Fewer snacks and more energy, making it work for you. So, what habit do you want to change or create? Start by keeping it ridiculously small. Think 1-minute actions. Something so easy it's almost impossible to fail. Then build from there. And don't forget to pair it with journaling. Write down what you did, how it felt, and what you learned. Over time, you'll see patterns, progress, and, best of all, proof that small steps really do lead to big results. Remember, your brain is on your side. It's ready to change. It just needs you to guide it. So, what's your first step? Chapter 3, Microstacking. The key to consistency. What is microstacking? Imagine building a sandcastle, one tiny grain at a time. It might feel slow at first, but each grain adds up until, boom, you've got something amazing. That's the idea behind microstacking. It's about making progress through small, manageable actions instead of giant leaps that burn you out. Here's why it works. Big changes feel overwhelming. They rely on willpower, which is like your phone battery. It drains fast. Microstacking bypasses all that drama by being so easy that your brain doesn't fight back. You're not forcing a marathon when you can barely jog a block. You're committing to a single, small step that's ridiculously doable. Think of it this way. If traditional weight loss methods are like climbing a ladder 3 rungs at a time, microstacking is climbing 1 rung at a time. You still get to the top, but without the panic of feeling like you're going to fall off. Practical examples. So, how do you put microstacking into action for weight loss? The key is to start small, like smaller than you think. Let's look at a few examples to get the ball rolling. 1. Drink more water instead of committing to 8 glasses a day right off the bat. Hello, bathroom overload. Start with 1 extra glass at a specific time, say, before lunch. Once that feels natural, add another glass. Before you know it, hydration is your new superpower. 2. Take short walks. The idea of exercise can be intimidating. But what if you just walk for 5 minutes? That's it, 5 minutes around your block. Doable, right? Once you're out there, you might feel like walking longer, but even if you don't, you've still won. 3. Add 1 healthy item to your meal. No need to overhaul your plate overnight. Just add one thing, a handful of spinach to your eggs, a side of veggies with dinner, or a piece of fruit with your snack. These little additions crowd out less healthy choices over time without feeling restrictive. 4. Journal for 1 minute. Don't stress about filling pages. Start with 1 minute a day. Write down what you ate, how you felt, or even just a single sentence like, I'm proud I drank water instead of soda. It's less about perfection and more about paying attention. The beauty of microstacking is that these small actions build momentum. Each success, no matter how tiny, trains your brain to expect wins, and that keeps you going. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Like any approach, microstacking has its traps. The good news? They're easy to sidestep once you know what to watch for. 1. Overstacking. It's tempting to get ambitious and stack too many habits at once. Resist the urge. Focus on 1 stack at a time until it feels automatic. Once you're rocking that habit, add another. Slow and steady wins the race here. 2. Inconsistency. Consistency beats intensity every time. Even if you don't feel like doing the thing, do the bare minimum. Not in the mood for a 5-minute walk? Walk for 1 minute instead. Doing something keeps the streak alive, which is way more important than doing it perfectly. 3. Ignoring wins. Sometimes we're so focused on what's next that we forget to celebrate progress. Don't do that. Every small win deserves acknowledgement. Drank an extra glass of water today? Heck yes! Got outside for a quick walk? Amazing. Write it down, pat yourself on the back, and let that victory fuel your next step. The magic of micro-stacking is that it meets you where you are. It's flexible, forgiving, and completely customizable to your life. No more feeling like you need to climb Everest just to lose a few pounds. Instead, you're taking one step at a time, and every step counts. Ready to start stacking? Pick your first small habit, keep it simple, and let consistency do the heavy lifting. You've got this. Chapter 4. Journaling for Insight and Accountability. The role of journaling in weight loss. Let's be real. Weight loss isn't just about what you eat or how much you exercise. It's also about why you make certain choices. That's where journaling comes in. It's like having a heart-to-heart with yourself on paper. When you journal, you're not just writing, you're reflecting. You're taking a moment to step back, breathe, and figure out what's really going on. Maybe you notice that you always reach for snacks after a stressful meeting, or that you feel amazing after a morning walk but skip it half the time. Journaling helps you connect the dots. Here's the magic. Journaling boosts mindfulness. It's a chance to pause and think instead of acting on autopilot. The more aware you are of your habits, triggers, and progress, the easier it is to make better choices. Plus, writing things down creates accountability. Not in a harsh, "Why aren't you perfect yet?" kind of way, but in a gentle, "Hey, let's figure this out together" way. Types of weight loss journaling. Not sure where to start? Let's break it down. There are 3 main types of weight loss journaling, and you can mix and match based on what feels right for you. 1. Emotional triggers. Ever had a day where you eat an entire bag of chips and wonder, what just happened? Emotional eating is super common, but it's easier to manage once you know your triggers. That's where this type of journaling shines. Here's how it works. When you feel the urge to snack, especially when you're not hungry, pause and jot down what's happening. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Stress? Boredom? Sadness? Write it down. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. Once you know your triggers, you can plan healthier ways to cope, like a quick walk, a few deep breaths, or even calling a friend. 2. Habit tracking. This one's all about consistency. Want to drink more water, walk daily, or cut back on late-night snacks? Habit tracking helps you stay on course. Use a simple table or grid to track your daily actions. For example, if you're focusing on drinking more water, create a box for each day and check it off when you hit your goal. There's something oddly satisfying about seeing those check marks add up. It's like high-fiving yourself for sticking with it. 3. Progress reflection. Weight loss isn't a straight line. Some weeks, you'll crush your goals. Other weeks, life happens. Reflection journaling helps you zoom out and see the bigger picture. Once a week, take 5 to 10 minutes to review how things went. Ask yourself, what worked well? What didn't go as planned? What's one small tweak I can try next week? The goal here isn't to be hard on yourself. It's to learn and adapt. Progress is about showing up, not being perfect. Templates and prompts. Okay, you're convinced that journaling is a game changer. But what do you actually write? Here are some easy-to-use templates and prompts to get started. Daily journal template. Today's intentions, e.g., drink 2 glasses of water before lunch. What I eat. Keep it simple. No need to track every crumb unless you want to. How I felt, physically and emotionally. Energy levels, mood, etc. One win. Celebrate even the tiniest victory. Chose an apple instead of chips. Weekly reflection template. Highlight of the week. What went well? Challenge of the week. What tripped you up? Next week's focus. What's one thing you'll work on? Prompts to spark insight. When I feel like overeating, I usually feel blank first. The habit I'm most proud of this week is blank. One thing I learned about myself today is blank. If I could give myself one piece of advice for tomorrow, it would be blank. Journaling doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. Even a few sentences a day can make a huge difference. The key is to make it work for you. Prefer bullet points? Go for it. Want to doodle your feelings instead of writing them? That works too. Remember, journaling isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest with yourself. The more you understand your habits, emotions, and progress, the better equipped you are to make choices that support your goals. So grab a notebook, find a comfy spot, and start writing your way to a healthier you.